Dragon's Dogma 2 recently released, and let's just say it's been a complicated launch, to say the least. From chaos surrounding the microtransactions and performance issues, to the well-received immersive, open world, and likability of its pawn system, Capcom really knows how to embrace a love-hate relationship with this one. In my opinion, this is actually a fantastic game. I would even dare say, Game of the Year potential, really, but its blemishes are going to steal some of the spotlight, which will keep it from universal praise, and I think that's a real shame. In this video, we're going to cover my thoughts on that complex release I just previously mentioned. I'm then going to articulate the feel of the game and who I think this game is for, and then I'm going to summarize my experience and provide you guys with a little bit of my pros and cons to the game. So when it comes to Dragon's Dogma 2's release, I'm actually quite split on how I feel about it. Okay, so I came in hot with this video, and I even said words like Game of the Year potential. I know that's crazy. I know you guys are probably freaking out for those who've had poor experiences with the game, but let me explain a little bit. Dragon's Dogma 2 adds polish and life that the first game simply did not have. The environments are beautiful and the immersion is magnetic, and that challenge it provides is nice and well balanced in my opinion. But unfortunately, you can release the best of games, but if you have a poor launch, it can leave a stain that is very difficult to overcome. With a launch that included a long list of DLCs, extremely poor performance, I can't even overstate that one, and brain-dead game decision designs like not including a new game option on its main menu, what the heck were they thinking? It not only overshadows the great game that lies within its ugly cover, but it sparks the present-day sensitivity gamers have with developers releasing poorly optimized games with greedy microtransactions that all come after the cost of paying for a game's full price, which, as we know, is inflating just like everything else in the world. And because of all this, I understand why it's hard to just praise Dragon's Dogma 2 without acknowledging the things that it's done poorly. The reason why I'm still so optimistic about Dragon's Dogma 2, even though the release was kind of terrible, is because I want to give credit where credit's due, and that's simply because I'm actually having an enjoyable experience with the game. I am always of the belief that problems at launch are not deal breakers as long as they are able to be fixed with patches. Now, of course, I won't argue those who want to say that if you pay for a game, it should be the complete version. Those people honestly are absolutely correct. However, my response to that is, if you don't think the game developers are fighting strict deadlines from the executives who are just simply looking to maximize profits, then you are turning a blind eye and abandoning those developers that are actually really good at their jobs. Because it's the actions of the greedy business that typically creates the problems that we're seeing here with Dragon's Dogma 2. Like it or not, this is the way. Okay guys, I think we've used enough oxygen on the launch of Dragon's Dogma 2. I think we're a little exhausted by it, so let's get into the good things that the game does and who this game is actually for. When I first entered into the world of Dragon's Dogma 2, I realized it was a true escape from reality, and let's be honest here, that's the exact feeling we want from a fantasy RPG. Beginning with a stellar character creation, the game provides the tools to create unique player-made characters and pawns. It then introduces you to a visually stunning world. The world is lavish and full of life, whether it's enemies around every turn, free roaming pawns and NPCs, or its weather cycle, the environment feels alive. And that draw distance is absolutely incredible. It provides a feeling that the world is vast and accessible. I truly found myself mesmerized by the ability to wander the map and stumble upon an abundant amount of items to gather, points of interest, and foes to slay. And speaking of slaying, entering combat in this game is seamless and it keeps you on your toes. There is a simplicity to the skills you are able to buy and equip, and the game encourages creative approaches like using the environment to your advantage or collaborating with your pawns to target enemies' weaknesses. The combat is a beautiful hybrid of Souls-like and hack-and-slash action RPG combat. Because of this split, I found it to be extremely approachable and fresh. And going back to those pawns, they are Dragon's Dogma's quite unique take on companions. Acting as non-human AI beings, they learn to adapt to the world and you as the Arisen. They also provide non-stop commentary, which is part annoying and sometimes part humorous. Get back here! You are not prepared for this! Guys, how do you control the pawns to not run to their death? Although pawns sometimes fall to their death or pathetically fall short of reaching a destination, I find them to be one of the most impactful reasons why Dragon's Dogma 2 feels like a new experience in the RPG genre. Now, the next thing that is pretty clear from the start of my experience was how the game makes it pretty obvious that it's not going to hold your hand. There is no detailed tutorial of your menus and UI, and quests will not always show locations. For example, my god, shut up right now. I got the arch staff, but I didn't get the freaking greatsword? I don't care about the enemies right now. Where's my freaking sword? I literally spent 30 minutes walking around the same mine looking for a greatsword to unlock the special vocation warrior, only to find out that I had actually found it earlier and I accidentally sold it. Okay guys, leave me alone on this one. If they just put a little bit of UI help in there, I would have never been lost in the first place. Although my puppy brain does get the best of me a lot of times, I'm not gonna fully blame this one on the game. And that brings me to the debuffs in the game, which are called debilitations, and they aren't presented to you with descriptions, but icons instead for you to just remember, unless you go into the menu, which honestly feels bad when you're in the middle of combat and get hit with one of those. You kind of just wish that there was a title under the icon to allow you to see what you need to do real time, rather than halting your combat to go menu scrolling. Now, as I said, I understand the game does provide the information in the character menu, but I really wish they would just put the title of the debilitation on the gameplay UI, so I wouldn't have to remember these things. Remember? Puppy brain, guys! Exploration and trial and error is really a theme in Dragon's Dogma 2. Although it can create for more downtime figuring things out, it also makes for an extremely immersive experience. And because of this, I've found it really easy to just wander off and spend a lot of hours not progressing the game, but simply enjoying the combat and discovery of new things as I explore the initial world map. Now, as positive as I am with this game, and most games to be honest, I like to take the high road. This game isn't all gumdrops and rainbows, so let me get into the realities of where this game could be better. My first disappointment comes in the form of not including multiple character save files. I love the ability to create alts in games to separate my classes for the sake of roleplay. And the more important reason why I dislike this idea is because when you start a new character, everything that you've done on your previous character is wiped clean because of that single character save file. This is an absolutely egregious idea to not be able to start new characters without losing your old one. Man, it's like they think I've got all day or something. Don't you know editing these videos takes a long time? So remember to hit like and subscribe to remind me why it's all worth it. Other gripes I had with this game include repetitive enemies. When you start out in this game, you end up facing the same group of enemies and trash mobs over and over and over. And even some of the bigger characters like Cyclops or the werewolves just become a little redundant. Although it always feels like an epic battle every time you do face them, it does get a little boring because you're just facing the same enemy. The menus and UI in this also feel a little wonky. Now, this one's a little bit of a reach and personal thing on my end. I'm not too well versed when it comes to the menus and UI and how to articulate how they can maybe make this a smoother experience, but it does feel like at times that things are just too many clicks to get things done. Next is the performance of the game, which is honestly trash. The FPS in the game in the open world is typically around 50 to 60 FPS for me, but once I hit a city, it drops down to as low as 20 FPS, which is absolutely unacceptable. I don't know how this didn't make the first patch, and I know I'm being very aggressive and demanding with that. It probably does take a long time to fix. However, they did charge us $70 for a game at launch, so having such poor performance and optimization is just totally unacceptable, and I'm hoping to see it in the next patch. Because if they don't fix it in the next patch, I imagine even players who do enjoy the game are going to start to get a little impatient with them. And for my last gripe, it's actually more of a funny one, but it does get really annoying, and it's the fact that NPCs sometimes just interrupt you out of nowhere and start talking to you. I know when I entered my first town after riding an ox cart there, I picked up a quest or two, and then it almost seemed like all of the NPCs were running towards me and just interrupting me about the information I learned about the quest. Like, I didn't activate any of these dialogues, and people were just talking to me left and right. There was basically a crowd that circled around me, and when one was done talking to me, another one would swoop right in. Like, there was no sense of boundaries when it came to these NPCs, and that's where I found a little fun in it. it, but if I go into new places and this happens every time, it's just super annoying because I couldn't even continue on. And especially in a game where there's time-sensitive quests, I was like, what is this? Like, just leave me alone, people. Like, let me do the job that you're like just telling me information that has no effect on the quest or no help for it at all. All in all, Dragon's Dogma 2 has me hooked. Being a more casually focused gamer, I find that it offers a nice balance of difficulty, intrigue, and immersion, which allows for me to get lost in a fantasy world, which is why I play these types of games. The game allows you to take things at your own pace, and it never gets in the player's way. Because of this, I sometimes feel lost, but I'm personally interpreting that as an immersive challenge. I believe approach is everything when it comes to this game. If you like the roleplay in RPGs, exploration, and the genuine feeling of victory when defeating enemies, give Dragon's Dogma 2 a try. But if you prefer a more streamlined, guided, and forgiving approach in a single-player RPG, then this might be a pass for you. This game certainly does not respect players' time at the cost of providing extra immersion, so take that how you will. That's either going to be a big win for some or a big L. But what do you guys think? Because at the end of the day, I think this poor launch can be mended with patches. Now, does that mean the game doesn't deserve to be played because they failed right off the bat? Well, I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you personally enjoying the game and knowing that these downfalls will be mended at some point in time? Hopefully! Or has the launch of the game completely annihilated any want to play the game? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and tell me about it. That's all for this one, you guys. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Remember to like and subscribe. We're going live on the channel with Dragon's Dogma 2 going forward here, so keep a lookout for that. We stream on Wednesdays and Fridays. We are also now multi-streaming, so not only are we going to be live on YouTube, but we will be live on Twitch as well. And until next time, you fine people on the internet, peace.